Okay, we're live. Welcome, viewers, to my channel again. I would love to introduce you all to a dear friend of mine, August Perez, who's a psychotherapist, here to discuss with us the Six Paramitas. It's a practice that's very dear to both of our hearts. And yeah, just thought it would be good to discuss a little bit and see what kind of benefit we can bring to anyone listening here. So, August, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It is so good to see you, Adrian, and to get into this, like you said, very dear topic, what feels very applicable to what we're all experiencing right here, right now.
Yes, emotions are high
Mm.
in the United States right now. We just had an election. For context, anyone watching, yeah, uh, there's never too much personal practice that one can do, especially in these kinds of pressurized times. But yeah, let's get right into it.
Let's go.
So, the paramitas, and six paramitas. The question to start with is, what are the paramitas and why would we want to practice with them? How is it beneficial for us to practice? We were talking about it before. Maybe you can recap a little of what you were saying and I can riff.
Absolutely. Well, this is so good to brush up on. And I was telling you right before this, when you first suggested we talk about this, I was like, I don't know what they are. I can't remember what this is. It's another list. And going back through it, I think that the actual definition of the paramitas is something like transcendent wisdom. Let's see if I
Yeah.
have the exact definition. Yeah, para means to go beyond, and mita means that which has arrived. So it's the transcendent activity or perfections.
Yes.
And
In Sanskrit.
in Sanskrit, yes. I'm thinking of our professors, and I feel like I'm butchering the very first question asked in a warrior's exam. Um,
No, that's another thing that I was thinking about with this topic. So this is a traditional Buddhist concept, a Buddhist practice, a way of understanding spiritual practice through a Buddhist lens. But I want to bring this discussion forward in a non-sectarian way, right? How can we apply this to our lives, no matter what kind of spiritual orientation or religiosity we might have or not have, right? So even if we get it not quite right, I think the bigger point of the paramitas is how can we, in our mind body avatars as human beings here in this life, how can we fulfill the roles that we are destined to play in our families, in our relationships, in our jobs, while also cultivating spiritual path and doing so for the benefit of all beings, right? We have so many things that we're pulled to do in every direction. How can we unify all of that in a way that's not overwhelming, in a way that's not it's not going to burn us out, because a lot of us are feeling compassion fatigue.
mhm.
There's a lot of conflict going on in the world. There's a lot of pain that's on our news screens, and a lot of us trying to do as much as we can to help, whether that's on a logistic level, sending aid, but then also on a personal level, how can we guard our energy, right? So right, it's not limited to Buddhist, but it's a Buddhist concept, and I think it's super useful, which is why I wanted to invite you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, as I was going back over these teachings, this is directly connected to the path of the Bodhisattva, the,
Hmm.
the the aspiration to help bring all beings to enlightenment, to experience nirvana, even if that means that we have to delay our own enlightenment. And I remember talking in graduate school in our group of kind of that seems really scary on a very relative personal level. I'm delaying, my own enlightenment in order to make sure that everybody else can get on that path too. And I think that the burnout piece is a really big one here, that we feel like we have to give all of ourselves. We have to be showing up 110% in every facet of our lives, to the point where there's nothing left over. Right. Or it goes to the other extreme of where I'm so burnt out and I've given so much away that now I'm going to start hoarding my energy. I'm going to isolate. I'm not going to reach out to community. I'm going to kind of protect myself in a way that's not actually protection. It's disconnection. Yeah. And I feel like the paramitas are this really beautiful, succinct way of like, wait, there's actually a balance here. It's this not too tight, not too loose. And I think these first 6 really open up that stream for us to step into.
Absolutely. Beautifully put. Yeah, I'm very much guilty of isolation at times because it can get overwhelming. But yeah, it's a reaction. It's kind of like a digging in a way. There's fear underneath there. But yeah, we have to see it clearly. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the 6, so maybe it's a good idea to list them, and we can kind of just give an easy definition for people who are new to the concept. So I'm thinking whether to say it in English or in Sanskrit. Either way, Dana is the first one, which is generosity.
Generosity, yes.
Okay. About generosity, what about it makes it a transcendent spiritual practice? Mm-hmm. What comes to mind first for me is the idea that, like in normal everyday giving or receiving, there's an attachment to being the one who gets to be seen as generous.
I'm giving.
Exactly. Like, oh, look how much I'm helping. Maybe in a performative kind of a way. Or being the one who gets to receive, then you're kind of self-centered in a greedy kind of way. And this transcendent paramita of generosity, dana, is one that's more of a loose grip on the sense of self, a loose grip on the concept of the giver, the gift, and the receiver. Mm-hmm. That really there's a non-separation, there's a non-dual kind of aspect to it. That's what comes to my mind with dana.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I feel very similarly that dana is almost for some reason, the word permission's coming up in my mind, where it's the permission that it's not centered on I, that it's actually bigger than I, that this is on a universal level, that perhaps the form of August might become the conduit for that, but it's not August generating that it's beyond. And I think that the piece here that you highlighted that I just want to reiterate that I personally get hung up on sometimes is this non-dual, that we oftentimes are like, well, I've been giving so much, or, I give this many hours, I give this much money, I give this much time, and now I want that reciprocated. I want that balance. And I think especially for folks who are in marginalized positions, we give more. And so this can oftentimes be used as a weapon of like, well, now you have to give even more. And that's not what this is saying either, that this is again, beyond this form. And it's within balance of this form as well, that dana never exceeds us beyond what we can give and what we can receive when we are in that transcendent nature of it.
Sorry, I just had to bat away a cat.
Good. Yes. Yes. Generous.
Generously setting boundaries.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. For you and the benefit of the cat.
Yes. Which actually I think is a good segue into the next one, Sheila,
Yes.
which is translated as discipline. I had another good one, but I think this is a fun thing about these Sanskrit terms is that it's kind of difficult sometimes to remember them, but then because they don't have a one-to-one translation into English, it's kind of a spectrum of meanings. And there's a downside to that, but the upside to it is that you can, at least for me, I feel like I'm letting go of the English words meaning and connotation and being open to every time I think about what it is, it's slightly, there's more depth to it. It's not just like one static thing, like, oh, I know what it is, here's what it is. Like, well, now I know what it is, but the next time I look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, is it, what more, there's more of a, there's a mystery. It's like there's a mysterious aspect to it. But I want to see exactly what I wrote. Yeah, discipline or self boundaries. It can be self boundaries, but then boundaries with others is also, I would say, part of it. And traditionally, it could be the 5 precepts. It could be the 10 virtuous actions. In certain Tibetan traditions, they talk about it that way. But I think in general, it's an idea of being aware, being mindful of the habits of thought, speech, and behavior, body, speech, and mind, right? Just being aware, I have a tendency to XYZ.
Yep.
Maybe I should make an agreement with myself, a boundary about not doing this or not doing it in this way or this often or with these people or in whatever circumstance, right? Not necessarily this really ascetic practice, oh, I need to become a monk and go live in the mountains forever isolated. Maybe that could be good for some people. Actually, I'm very grateful that so many people have dedicated their lives to spiritual practice in that way. But part of the beauty of the Paramitas, and I think a lot of Mahayana Buddhism, is that it's applicable to lay people, householders, everyday people who are in relationships, working jobs, who have lots of responsibilities. They don't have time to be in retreat 24/7, but there's still a way to practice. So I think that's amazing.
Yes. This is for everyone, and it's applicable to all life. And what I really love this, and I agree with you that each of these words actually have deeper meaning and multiple meanings and meanings that you can uncover as you are studying and practicing.
Yeah.
And what I love about sila, discipline, is that the English word discipline comes from the root word disciple, to follow. And that when I realized that, oh, this isn't punitive, this isn't a punishment, this isn't you must stay on this path, or that this is I want to follow this. I want to see this through to the end. That there's a desire there to see where this could go, and I want to stay on that path to see where it goes instead of being, forced to do this or felt obligated to do this or doing it out of fear.
It's free will and choice.
Exactly. I'm
just going to type them into the chat. Keep talking.
Oh, good. I was just going to say, I've always thought of sila in the experiential piece of taking your seat on the cushion, sitting upright, that we're sitting down, it's intentional. And even though we're arranging our body to relax into the position, it still takes a discipline to sit upright, that we have to put in a little bit of our own will to do that so that we're not just slumped down. And
Right.
so it's like it helps to bring structure.
Yeah. There's something you said that felt really resonant. Around it's something that I'm choosing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's pointing to renunciation. Again, not in the super, ascetic kind of way, but renunciation in the sense of I've been going for refuge in
Mm-hmm.
substances or in relationships or in this kind of behavior because I think or isolation because for whatever reason, I have that kind of tendency or whatever the tendency may be. I've been seeking refuge in that, but then getting pain as an outcome, right? Not getting the actual impact that I was intending. So in my moment of clarity, seeing that, I can choose, wow, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I might end up doing it, but
Yeah.
at least having a moment of deciding this is not what I want to continue to do, or at least not in this kind of way. It's no one from outside saying you need
Yeah.
to do this, and if you don't do it, you're going to be punished. It's not like that. It's very much a chosen practice guideline, training precept. I think that's another way they talk about the precepts.
Mm-hmm.
It's for training purposes.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to see my mind, if I want to see the subtle aspect of my thought patterns and the impulses that pop up in the body, sometimes it's hard if you're not used to mindfulness practice. It's hard to notice impulses in your body or thoughts in a subtle way, but you can notice the movement that's happening, right? You can notice when those words come out of your mouth, right? So if you notice there's a pattern in this kind of behavior or this kind of speech, then you can say, okay, let's make a boundary here. Let me be disciplined in this particular way. And through that practice, not because it's good or bad, but because it's causing you pain, you don't want pain anymore. But through that practice with the boundary there, you can start to see what's happening before the word even wanted to come out. What's happening before the behavior even started to happen. There's some kind of, oh, something was tight in my chest. There was a little flutter in my belly. I just had like a really weird flash of that one time in fourth grade when that one guy said that one thing, something's
Yep.
happening internally on a subtle level that
Yep.
normally you would have no clue was happening,
Mm-mm.
except for having that training precept to create a boundary.
Yes. Staying with it.
Exactly. Okay. The next one. Dana, Sheila, Kshanti. This is my favorite one.
Why is it your favorite one?
For multiple reasons. Number one, because it's so weird to pronounce.
Shanti.
Kshanti.
Kshan.
In English, I spell it with the KSH, but it might be really just a KS, or I'm not really sure, but and it's translated as patience or endurance or tolerance as an antidote to anger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna write, but yeah, patience is usually what you'll see. Endurance, intolerance. Okay, loud plane. Practicing the paramita of patience. even in the most conventional sense, like English word patience, there's a feeling of I'm waiting for something to happen. I'm getting frustrated that it's not happening yet. Okay. I had a.
Yay.
The whole thing is still here. Okay, great. For anyone watching, yes, my battery was going a little low, but we're under control.
It was just
We're
a
back.
gap.
Just a little gap.
Just a little gap.
Just a little moment
Mm-hmm.
to breathe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're readjusting for lighting as well. Okay. Yes. Where were we?
Yes.
Shanti, patience,
Yeah. Endurance.
endurance. Can you endure the technical difficulties? Can you tolerate?
As that
Right.
anger starts to rise when the Zoom or whatever platform it is doesn't work.
Exactly.
Mm.
You can take your deep breath, you can vocalize. Right. And what comes to mind is another reason why I like Kshanti as tolerance. I was reading the Vimalakirti Sutra, and they were talking about tolerance. I'm forgetting exactly what chapter. They were talking about tolerance in the context of tolerating the ultimate inconceivability of everything.
Oh. Can say that one more time.
The tolerance for the inconceivability of existence.
Yes. Yes. Tolerating that I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. What we're going through, what this human experience is, that the injustice of the world. All you have to do is open up your phone and you see horrendous news lines every day. That takes something to be able to stay with that and not absolutely let that overwhelm you, flood you.
Absolutely. And to not, like, there comes a point where you want to be able to understand, what is this? What is happening? Why is this happening? But at some point, that striving to understand is actually what's causing
Mhm.
a layer of suffering on top of what's already just painful.
Trying to make sense of something that's, again, non-conceptual.
Right.
It's not supposed to make sense, even though we've created a beautiful world of physics and laws of the universe. But this is actually, when we look at it from a universal perspective, this makes no sense. Everything that's happening makes zero sense. And that's part of the conclusion that we're like, no, it does. It's okay that the world is at war with itself, and we're, tapping into finite resources and decimating people groups. That's okay. That's normal.
Apparently.
Hey.
Apparently.
Mm.
Yeah. And we can get burnt out trying to figure it all out.
Mm.
There's some safety in having things figured out, and it doesn't feel comfortable always to not understand something. You might have an intuitive sense of what's happening and an intuitive sense of what you need to do, right? We're not saying, no, don't do anything about what's going on, but
Right.
there might be an intuitive sense without needing the mind to grasp
Mhm.
and get a headache.
Yeah. Feel hopeless.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because going back to another Buddhist concept that I'm making a connection with, one of the three poisons, which are, the three greatest sufferings that humans experience. One is aggression, which is pushing away our experience. I don't want that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to see that. That takes a lot of energy to exert that. And people do that with anger. I don't want to feel my anger. That's angry. That makes me feel vulnerable. I might lose control. So tolerating that, being with the energy of that. And exactly, the look on your face is the feeling that I get in my body. Like, oh, can I sit with that? Will that destroy me or someone else if I sit with that?
Right.
If I bring it closer?
Yeah, and sometimes there can be a feeling of like, okay, so does that mean I'm trying to stop feeling angry? No.
Mm-mm.
Notice that there's anger happening, or anger. What is anger? That's a good word. Notice something is happening here in the body.
Yes.
There's some impulse to like push something away. Thank you for tying that back into aversion, because that's super key for this paramita. I have this impulse to push it away. If I don't push it away, it hurts. But maybe just having a willingness. Just inviting myself to, okay, I'm willing to consider maybe allowing this feeling to be here for a second. I've been trying to fix this outward situation for I don't know how long, and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm getting a headache. I'm getting more frustrated, but I'm willing not to try and get rid of my frustration, but rather to be with it.
Yes.
For a second, to develop some patience, some endurance. Can I endure this? I don't think I can, but I'm going to try, right? I'm willing to try for 1 second, 1 millisecond.
Yes.
Out of curiosity. I always push it away. Whenever I feel this thing, I always push it away. Well, what happens if I don't? I don't know.
I don't know.
Again, I don't know. Not knowing, that's uncomfortable.
It's so
There's so many layers to why it feels hard. But it's all kind of in the mind. I think you're going to say something.
I was going to bring in now, I wanted to tie in some neuroscience to what you were saying.
Please.
Our nervous system can only hold on to the energy of any given emotion for about 90 seconds. And then the nervous system burns out. It can't actually stay with that feeling unless we exert energy into that feeling. So that's why, and as a therapist, sometimes we talk about ruminating thoughts of just that churning of, oh, this person, they made me so angry. They said this, they did that. It's unjust. And we start feeding that story. We're actually feeding the thing that we're trying to push away at the same time. And then it becomes really messy.
It's like trying to fight fire with fire.
Exactly.
I lost my note. Oh, there we go. Just wanted to see you a little more clearly. Yes. Shall we move to the next one? Dana, Sheila, Shanti, Virya. Virya. Let's say it an Americanized version. Virya. I like to translate it as effortless effort, but I think there's other ways.
Yep. I think exertion is like the big one, but we were taught, and I had this like highlighted and circled, effortless effort, because that in and of itself was such a mind-boggling thing to think about. How are you supposed to effortlessly effort something?
Right. Exertion. How do you spell exertion? Exertion. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, joyful exertion. Yes. This is my favorite. Okay. Shanti historically has been my favorite.
Yes.
But Virya is my new favorite, especially right in this exact moment. Because even doing this live right now with you, I was super joyful and excited and inspired to have this discussion. But then as days were getting closer, and then even now as we were about to go live, I could feel myself getting like jittery, kind of nervous, even a feeling of kind of wanting to shut down. Like feeling tired or sad or just like kind of low, maybe as a defense. Something in my system is like afraid. So it's like, oh, we can't do this. So funny. So weird.
I am so glad that you named that, because I was feeling the exact same way.
That's so funny.
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. I thought this morning, I would not have been surprised if you had reached out and said, hey, can we reschedule this? I just had this feeling, and there was a feeling in me, maybe even a little hope of you canceling this. Which is so interesting because exertion, and I think this one's my favorite one too, because it's edgy for me, because it talks about the 3 different kinds of laziness.
Yes. We love lists. Okay, so Buddhist psychology, for anyone who's new to it, there's always 10 lists of 6 things and 5 aspects of the 3rd thing. And you don't have to understand all of it. You don't have to learn all the lists. But if you learn one of them, like this 6 Paramitas, it can be a doorway to so many things. Anyway, August, what were you going to say?
Even more lists. So yes, with Buddhism as well, so many of these concepts, there's usually, a couple parts to it. They talk about obstacles in the paramitas. So each one has an obstacle to actually gaining or experiencing that transcendent wisdom aspect of the paramita. So this one was always really edgy for me because I really identify with the obstacles. And for so long, I have justified the obstacles as this is self-care. This is what I need to feel okay. And they call it laziness, but not in the westernized sense of, oh, you're just, a lazy couch potato. But this is more of like avoidance of anything unpleasant.
That one right there.
Yes.
That one.
Right. Like, what if I come on to this live stream and I end up looking a fool and I say things that don't make sense? What will people think? Will Adrian still want to be my friend? Maybe it would be better to just not do it.
It's so much easier.
So much easier. Easier.
It's easier.
The next one is indulgence. You know, I would rather go eat some ice cream than actually have to feel my loneliness. I would rather get really, really distracted than have to experience the discomfort that I need to have a hard conversation with a family member. So I'm going to indulge. I'm going to go take that bubble bath. I'm going to go to that yoga class. Actually, I'm going to go to 2 yoga classes because that's self-care.
Right. Self-care.
Yes. Self-care. Exactly. And then the third one, again, is this discouragement. This, like, it's not going to happen the way that I want it to. I'm going to apply all of this effort and I'm not going to get the outcome that I'm looking for. So
hopelessness.
Yeah. Easier to not even start.
Wow.
Yeah.
Name them again.
Avoidance of anything
Avoidance.
unpleasant. Indulgence.
Indulgence.
And discouragement.
And discouragement. Avoidance. Indulgence. Discouragement.
So
yeah.
edgy. I feel a little.
I see how they nest into each other.
Yeah, exactly. They're cozy with each other.
Something in me was going to avoid the call and then indulge in whatever was more comfortable.
Right.
And avoidance, indulgence, and what was the last one?
Discouragement.
And discouragement. I don't know if I would get, well, I might go to that place of, no, nothing's going to work, and no, I'm never going to want to do this, and it's never really going to, it's not going to have any good impact anyway, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Negative self-talk.
Exactly.
I can completely see that. Yeah, this is good stuff.
It is. I feel, called out for sure. Which I think goes back to discipline.
Right. Yes. A friendly call out, a call in. Right? We're called in.
Yes. Because again, this isn't punitive. This isn't,
right.
You piece of shit, you did it again. That's not exactly. That's not what this is.
It's just being aware, recognizing the impact. Which, okay, perfect transition again into the next one, which is dhyana. Dhyana, quick trivia fact, is the Sanskrit word, which is the root of the word Zen. So Zen is a Japanese, and that's a Japanese pronunciation of the Chinese word chan, or channa, which is a Chinese pronunciation, ancient Chinese, maybe we're not really sure exactly how the ancient Chinese were pronouncing it, but modern Mandarin, that's how you pronounce it, chan. But in any case, that's how you pronounce dhyana.
From Sanskrit. I had no idea.
Yes. And in this context of the paramitas, we're understanding it as concentration, meditation, maybe meditative absorption. This, I think, depending on what lineage or what tradition, even outside of Buddhism and Hinduism, this concept exists as well. And it's generally just speaking about concentration, the concentration that's necessary to start to see these subtle aspects of the mind, these subtle impulses that are happening in the body, bringing the awareness to a place where those things become more perceptible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to write this in the chat.
Mm-hmm. It's like an access point that when we can sit with our anger, when we can practice generosity, this gives us access to then sorry, my mind's like going in multiple directions here.
All good.
I know. But it's like, okay, which of the 1,000 should we follow? I have here written down stability in midst of engagement, that this is the practice of meditation in everyday life, in every situation.
Flow state comes to mind.
I like that. Yes. It doesn't matter what the object is. Here, right here between you and I have a feeling that even though we're engaged, we're present, we're talking about this, that there's also a moment where we might fall back into silence or feel the breath as we're breathing. That's meditation. That's coming back to our seat so that we can come back into presence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's making me think of the idea of going into retreat. Excuse me, my throat. Going into retreat, or really practicing Shila, really practicing discipline, renunciation, all of that, to create the environment that's conducive for meditation, but then not letting it stop there.
Yes.
And then coming down off of the mountain to integrate. You go and you have your retreat experience, but then you go and allow that to integrate. And that's where the real, that's where it's not a practice. Maybe if we go on retreat, we're practicing, like you're practicing for a soccer game or something.
Yes.
But then out in real life, that's the actual Zen. That's the actual dhyana that's happening in real time. It's not just me sitting like this, It's me engaging, but engaging consciously, just knowing what's happening. And of course, we're going to have moments we're in, we're out, but at least having that intention. When you said the kind of coming back, and that's what made me think of that. It's like a dance. There's a rhythm to it.
Yes. And I really appreciated you saying, that this is a practice. We might go up to the mountain and practice to come back down and live and just be as we are as humans, that this is a practice of how to be human, and that it's actually pretty mundane. There's nothing really special about what we're doing. It's just so novel.
Yeah.
To our culture, that that there wasn't separation in household lineages that brought these kinds of teachings into their family, that this was, we meditate and we live, and the two aren't separated.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a whole larger conversation about like practice, retreat experience, which I'll definitely invite you back for that. But it doesn't have to be separated. They're all kind of nested within each other, and they feed into a loop. Yes, which leads us to the last one. Prajna Paramita.
Prajna Paramita. Have we arrived? Did we make it?
Arrived to transcendent wisdom.
Finally.
Well, how did I want to translate it? As non-conceptual wisdom. Non-conceptual. Should I have a dash or whatever? I'm just going to send it. Yeah. Prajna. I'm pretty sure that the pra is the same as the para in paramita. So it's like
Huh.
also beyond.
Yes.
And the jna
Mm-hmm.
is like it's a cognate to Greek word gnosis, which is knowledge.
Yes.
Knowledge. So it's like
Knowledge.
beyond knowledge.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna write that. Gnos. Yeah, and that's another sort of tangential thing. Gnosis, the kind of Greek equivalent of prajna,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the Gnostic teachings and mystic Christianity and things like that, I've been getting into as well and wanting to share with my audience. So you'll be back for
Yes.
some more of conversation
Yes.
about that.
I hope so.
And it all fits into this. It's
Mhm.
all, the Silk Road was a thing. They were all sharing all of these conversations and all these topics.
Yes.
I'm sure Jesus studied the Six Paramitas.
I feel like he did. I really do. I feel like there's way more crossover than what we give credit.
Yeah, that may be controversial to some people, but the ancient people were very connected. They knew what was up. Anyway, so here we are at non-conceptual wisdom, prajna.
Yes.
The wisdom that can't be put into a concept.
Yep.
That's experienced directly.
I wrote down not knowing dash knowing.
Mm.
That it is there is insight, there is intuition. There is something that knows. But again, it's beyond Adrian knows or August knows or Professor so-and-so knows, that it's not a bank of knowledge that's stored in our neurons and that we can have access to, that this goes beyond that. So it is knowing, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the point where the words aren't really useful anymore. I mean, it's fun. It can be useful for, demonstration purposes only.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes through the other paramitas.
Mm-hmm.
And they ultimately break down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're no longer separated from each other. They're no longer distinguishable. And it is just this one this one movement, whether it's movement into awareness and intention or movement back into kind of unawareness and habitual body, speech, and mind, thinking patterns and whatnot, and then back into that. Even that movement is known. It's seen, it's experienced.
Mm-hmm.
It's an object that appears within the space of awareness. It's here for a moment, and then it's gone, and then some other object appears.
Mm-hmm.
But that space of awareness never appeared and never disappears. It never arrived, and it can never leave. It's unbreakable because there's nothing really to break.
Nope.
But clearly something is knowing what's happening. Clearly there's experiencing is happening right now. There's a presence of knowingness. Yeah, it just turns into poetry at this point.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was noticing that my mind really started to slow down and was even asking the questions of like, what are we talking about? And I remember whenever we would start to get a little bit closer to these non-conceptual concepts that we're trying to name, we're trying to understand somehow, that my mind will start to feel really like sluggish, really mushy almost, where it's like I'm having a hard time following. I don't know what you're saying. But then my body, when I like touch into my body's like energetic and it feels really present. Like I feel like there's energy in my arms that feels like a bowstring of like, ooh, we're about to shoot something off here. And so it's just like a really interesting, it's really interesting to even try and talk about this because, like you said, words actually fail to describe what we're trying to describe, what we're trying to point to. And this is where it becomes non-conceptual turned into action, non-action, that we're starting to bring this into our bodies that has a movement. See, I can't even describe what my body.
It just becomes dance. It becomes movement. It becomes poetry, singing. You know, vocalizing.
Yeah.
It's intuitive. It's not contrived or like pre-planned type of thing. Where my mind went as you were talking was the impact of the practice, right? So we have this intention. Okay, I'm going to be generous. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to be patient, et cetera, et cetera. You get to the deeper aspects of them, become familiar with them in your own experience. You start to feel intuitively how it's all kind of one flow together. And the ultimate goal, if any, is not only for this one to recognize the true self, which I think is maybe one way of talking about prajna, recognizing non-conceptually, because it's not, oh, and I know what it is. It's not about knowing what the true self is. Because you can read a sentence, you can read a definition in a book somewhere and say, oh, the true self is, I don't know, the witness of all things. It's like, okay, sure, it's just some phrase you can memorize and know.
Right.
But that's just a concept. Knowing directly, experiencing something beyond this body mind that is already always here, and feeling, knowing intuitively that it's everywhere, that I am everywhere, that we are the I am everywhere.
Everywhere. All the time.
All the time, beyond time and space.
Yes.
And the wish for all the rest of I's, all the rest of us's, of the me's out there, the other me.
Yeah.
To have the same non-conceptual recognition. Even those words are kind of just weird. It's like, all right, so then who's having the recognition if this? It's like, well, that's why the words are no longer necessary.
Exactly. Because nobody exerts that when we can drop.
It's joyful.
Exactly. It just, here. You're not making it happen. I'm not making it happen, but we're touching into something that's already here, that's happening all the time, that we always have access to within ourselves and with every person we come into contact with every person we don't come into contact with. So why, Adrian, why are we even talking about this right now?
Because now's the time.
Yes.
Now's the time for the earth to recognize itself as one living being. That's a thought that comes into my head.
that literally I felt like emotion. It's like choked in my throat. It feels so necessary. We're so disconnected from ourselves, our true natures, which Prajna Paramita is seeing beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
We're so disconnected from each other, which again, it helps us see beyond that. And we are so disconnected from Mother Earth. We are in bad shape of how disconnected we are. Whenever I tell a client, take your shoes off and go walk on the dirt, it's like, ugh, why? Why would I do that? Why would I get my skin in the dirt? We need it.
Yeah. I think the more we, at least with an open mind, approach these kinds of topics,
Mm-hmm.
and then with that same curiosity, just start to observe, not about taking on a new belief system, not about agreeing or disagreeing with some kind of philosophy, but out of pure investigation and curiosity, just observing, okay, what happens when I do this? Somehow that intuition can spark, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know why, but maybe I do want to go walk barefoot in the grass right now.
Yes.
I've never done that before, but no.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe I do want to keep having these conversations, even if it feels like, oh, I could come up with 1,000 excuses of oh, let's just do that another time. Or we've talked about this. We can talk about it, someplace else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the beings? There's so many beings out there. They need it.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yes.
We need it.
So we're deep into this. It's about an hour in now. Maybe we can close with time just flies. Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah, but you were just saying, reaching out to all the beings out there, we can dedicate all of this to them. At least that's my intention with having this live right now. Mm-hmm. And I invite anyone who's watching this right now, in your own way, just for a second or two, maybe taking a deep breath and let it out. And call to mind the intention that whatever benefit you're getting from this conversation, that a domino effect may course through your body, speech, and mind to positively impact all of your loved ones, all of your friends and family, even your enemies, and people that you don't know, and strangers, and ultimately all beings throughout time and space. Well, thank you, August, for joining me, for co-creating this with me, for, what was the word I'm trying to reach for? Co-transmitting this. Co-transmitting this. We got to be two little antennas, right, to sync up and then let something larger flow through whatever's always already here anyway, but for it to flow through in our movement and in our poetry here.
Our dance.
Yes.
Adrian, this has been such a delightful honor to be here with you today and to get to discuss this. And I'm so excited. This is causing ripples as we speak. And I am so excited to see who hears this, how this impacts them, that this is going to go beyond what we can even imagine right now.
Yes.
Yes.
I just remembered this is live. I kind of forgot.
Yes, exactly.
Good. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. May it be so. May it be so.
maybe so.
And for anyone who is curious about you and what you do, where could I direct? I see you have your email there. Any? Yeah.
That's my Instagram handle, august.e.perez.psychotherapy. I know it's a
Mm-hmm.
mouthful. All of my contact information is on my Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
or my website is aeppsychotherapy.com.
Okay.
And yeah, so if anyone wants to continue these conversations or has questions, please bring them in.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yes. And likewise, y'all know where to find me here on this channel.
Mm.
Leave a comment if any of this resonates with you, if you have any questions for me or August, and be glad to talk to you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian.
Very welcome. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, you're definitely going to be back for more
Oh, yeah.
conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking 4 immeasurables maybe is the next one.
You read my thoughts exactly. Yes.
Okay,
It's going
that's
to
going to
happen.
happen. It's going to happen. All right, perfect. Be well, and I will see you next time. Peace.